Hey everyone, and welcome back. I got some really fun stuff for you today, so let's just get right to it. 3 words. Game of Thrones. I'm totally obsessed. And if you're not, or you've never seen it, then go to HBO on demand and catch up because it is so worth it. With me today is one of the stars of Game of Thrones, Emilia Clarke. She plays Daenerys Targaryen, mother of dragons, also known as Khaleesi. But she's also here in New York now playing the ultimate party girl, Holly Golightly, in the Broadway production of Breakfast at Tiffany's. So here's my little chit-chat with the beautiful Emilia Clarke. Okay, so full disclosure, I am a Game of Thrones fanatic. Who isn't, right? And if you have not seen the show or you've been living under a rock for the last several years and don't know what I'm talking about, push pause, stop, turn the channel, go to HBO on demand, check it out and come back because today I'm at the Dream Hotel in the Chelsea district of New York City, and what a dream it is because I'm sitting with one of the stars of this amazing show, Emilia Clarke, who plays the fierce mother of the dragons, Daenerys Targaryen, also known as Khaleesi. And if that's not enough, she's also starring in the Broadway production of Truman Capote's Breakfast at Tiffany's as the ultimate party girl, Holly Golightly. Emilia, thank you so much for taking time and sitting down and chatting. First of all, congratulations on the show, on the series. What a crazy whirlwind.
Yes, it is. It is. I'm very, very lucky. Very lucky.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the series first, and then we'll talk about the show. How did you end up in this crazy, amazing series?
Yeah, not the usual story. I auditioned and I got the part.
And that's it.
That's literally it. That's
and good night, ladies and gentlemen. That's it.
Beginning, middle, and end. Yeah. It was just incredibly lucky.
And
they took a really big risk.
And what is it like working on such a huge, I mean, it's enormous.
It's incredible. As someone who previously to this had like no film experience whatsoever, I imagine this is how film work is. Like it's so detailed, and David and Dan, the executive producers and writers on the show, always say it's like a 10-hour film.
Well, I also hear that HBO in general is sort of a love affair with HBO. How has it been working with the folks over there?
Amazing. I was literally saying this just before, like I'm so spoiled that this is my first big experience because they just treat you so well and it's sickening. It's like a family and we all love each other. There are like no weak links, no douchebags. Everyone's awesome.
And we talked briefly about the author, George R.R. Martin, and I was asking you, is he on the set? And you said...
Not very much, no. Well, because he's writing, so he's working very, very hard. But he is executive producer on the show, and he obviously looks through all the scripts and has the notes and... and it's his books, it's his words. We're doing his characters. So.
Well, I was mentioning to you, to me it's so interesting because the women characters in Game of Thrones are some of the most interesting to me. And and particularly Daenerys tends to be the sort of moral center. And I know there's a lot more to come in the story. But, she sort of goes from this very shy sort of background and then suddenly takes her place center stage as the mother of the dragons, and how does it feel to play a character like that, and what do you do as an actress to sort of tackle such a huge role?
Well, it's just playing the truth of her, really, is what it is. And I think that from day one, I believed in her as a character, and so therefore that kind of self-belief, I think, is what is sort of shown, is what I try and show in the character through Dany. Basically, because it's what she has in spades, and it's kind of this innate knowledge that she is destined for something that's bigger than just a selfish sort of need or want. She has an ultimate desire to help lots of people, to kind of. So I think that's that her moral compass is definitely pointing north, like it knows.
And in terms of the way in which you shoot it, there's so many integrated storylines throughout the series. You guys are off doing your own sort of story. Where in the world do you shoot this? And do you see anybody else in the cast?
Never. Genuinely never. I see them at red carpet events, maybe in a bar in London.
That's you.
How you doing? Yeah, so I film in, season 1 was Malta, season 2 was Croatia, and then season 3 we just wrapped was Morocco.
Wow.
So that's my stuff. And then the more CGI type thing happens in Belfast for me. And then everyone else is Belfast. And then Kit is Iceland.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, Kit and Rose.
Amazing. And so are you ever surprised when you see the final product? You're like, hey, that's what's happening over
Completely.
in King's Landing.
No, exactly. I get the scripts and I read them and I get ridiculously excited, and then I just, like everyone else, I'm just crazy impatient to see the actual show, because we don't get like we see the first 2 episodes, they get screened just for the cast, but then like we're just like everyone else, I have to wait every week, which is really infuriating.
That's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you are aware of this as an actress, but your character in particular, Daenerys Targaryen, she's so strong and so amazing, and sort of, like I said, sort of came into her own, and it really has resonated, particularly with gay men. Like, you have such a huge gay following, particularly in this country. Are you aware of that? And why do you think that is?
I'm beginning to be aware of it, which is amazing. I love it.
Because the queens are just like, yeah.
It's wonderful. I'm not entirely. I'm always surprised when anyone kind of has lovely things to say about kind of my portrayal of Dany. But I'm not sure. I just think that there's something fabulous about a strong woman, about a woman who knows her mind and is not afraid to show it. But it's a way of, she's a woman in a man's world, but she's not trying to be a man. She knows what she has as a woman, and she uses that to her advantage, and she uses that to kind of get her power. And I think there's something about that is just glorious and wonderful and sexy and beautiful, and just, I wish it would bleed into my actual life a little bit more, that's all.
Well,
a little more Khaleesi, a little less Emilia, would be good.
Well, it's interesting because sort of from the ridiculous to the sublime, or sublime to the ridiculous, you have, Daenerys on one end, and now you're playing another amazingly iconic role of Holly Golightly.
Yeah.
That's an incredible range. Like, again, how do you sit down and say, okay, Holly Golightly, Truman Capote, obviously there's somewhere in the background the Audrey Hepburn sort of shadow looming.
I know, somewhere like the
not to put any pressure,
skeletal in the background.
But how do you sort of even begin to approach that as an actress?
So plays are different, and with this, I mean, I'm so lucky again that I have actual the source material is there. The same with Game of Thrones, because I'm a drama school kid.
Yay.
I do my research. I like to get really into that side of things. So with this, I mean, I read the book like 16 million times and continue to kind of go back to it. I do know the film very well, but I put that aside a while ago because it's just sort of, we're not doing the film. It's very different. We're definitely taking the novella. It's set in the 40s. It's a lot darker. It's a lot more kind of, she's much more broken, and she's much younger and much more kind of naive, and in a way she has an arc, very not similar to Dany, but the fact that she kind of goes on a journey. Yeah, it's a tragic story that we're playing, and it's just beautiful. And so it's researching the 40s and New York, and that I just love.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, there's such disparate roles in a certain way, and like you are finding this common thread between the two of them. You're working with also an amazing director, Sean Matthias.
Incredible.
And how is that working with him?
Oh, it's wonderful. He's just brilliant and gorgeous,
he's amazing,
and wonderful,
right?
And the rehearsals are hilarious. He's so funny.
Yeah, that's really enviable. Just like I've seen a lot of his work, and I know that he must be really fun to work with him.
Oh yeah, no, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy.
Well, thank you so much. Remember, it's Game of Thrones. It premieres Season 3 on HBO starting March 31st, or you can catch Breakfast at Tiffany's on Broadway at the Court Theater starting March 4th. So run down and check it out. Thank you so much for sitting down.
Thanks
I really
for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Thanks.
Khaleesi, please. And if that wasn't enough, here's a little bit more of a taste from the behind-the-scenes photo shoot at our sister pub, Out Magazine. Beautiful, right? I told you. Well, next up, we are going to see what our friends are up to over at The Advocate. Matt Breen, editor-in-chief, sits down with that super hot sister act, Tegan and Sara. Check them out. They rock.
All I wanna get is a little bit closer.
Well, it's so nice to have the two of you here to talk to The Advocate today. I really appreciate it. So welcome, Tegan and Sara.
Thank you.
You've been known for a long time to gay and lesbian fans and to indie and folk and rock fans since, I would say, over a decade at least. Mm-hmm. But I really feel this is the moment where you're going to be known to a lot more people very quickly. Mm-hmm. That is partly due to the release of Heartthrob, your 7th studio album. Who were your heartthrobs growing up? And is that where the title of the album came from?
We had a sort of, I guess, elementary school moment where like everything shifts from what your parents are influencing you, like, you know, you're so obsessed with them, and then all of a sudden it becomes about pure culture. You know, I guess that sort of starts to happen, you know, in like the 4th or 5th grade or whatever. And that sort of coincided with New Kids on the Block. That was really where the divide started to happen. We were like
we want a piece of them.
Well, I knew that I loved the way that Joe looked. I remember
Joey,
Mr. McIntyre now. It feels inappropriate to call him Joey, but you know, I think I remember I wanted to look like him, and you know, and I think that was probably some of the beginning feelings of knowing that the girls that I was friends with, they wanted to like kiss Joey and, you know, like whatever, and I wanted to like look like Joey.
For me personally, it was two things. I just loved the way Heartthrob looked. You know, I loved the actual like visual idea of a heart throbbing, whether it's because you're sad or you're depressed or because you're madly in love or you're just crushing out. And the other piece that I really loved was this idea that our first loves, you know, are heartthrobs. You know, we obsess over something that isn't real, and we project something that we hope is going to be, you know, is a fantasy, but we hope might happen, and we decide that this person we adore and love, which we'll never meet or never really know, we decide that this is who we love and this is what we want. And I loved the idea, the concept that in a strange way, unrequited love and longing and loss and broken hearts and all this stuff comes from those basic principles. You meet someone, you project what you hope, you know, this person is truly going to be like, and you get to know them and you have this whole relationship. Maybe it lasts 5 minutes, maybe it lasts 5 years, but it doesn't work out and you break up, and that we have this transition sometime in our teen years from projecting that onto strangers to projecting it onto real people. And a lot of this record feels very nostalgic, so it felt like that term really worked well for the idea of what we were, you know, kind of working through on this record. So.
A lot of the music press, and I think a lot of your fans are saying that this album represents a new stage in your careers. So, did you prepare for that? Did you prepare for a new stage in your careers? And do you feel that that's an accurate representation of the reaction?
I think that we've made conscious choices to continue to feel a forward momentum with each record. And, you know, that we're very, you know, deliberate about not doing the same thing, you know, again. Like I feel like each record really, like, whether it's like sonics or, you know, melodies or themes or whatever it is, the aesthetic, the way we tour it, whatever, all of the details that go into an album cycle, you know, you want to do something totally different. You know, we really had found our stride, I think, in the indie rock community. We were having like a very gradual trajectory. Like all these things were great. Sainthood even in itself was sort of like there was a submissive nature to the title, and it was sort of, you know, we had sort of curtailed some of our ambitions, and we were really happy. You know, we were content. And so this, I think that the result was this like real knee-jerk, like we've got to do something big, we have to push ourselves with this next record. It's like there's no more, you know, like there's no subtleties here, this is not polite, like we're gonna come out with something really big and direct and confident. It's gonna come as a surprise, I guess, and it's gonna be exciting for us and I think for the audience once everybody's sort of in that swing.
I think you were signed at age 19 by Elliot Roberts, who was Neil Young's manager. And I think he asked you at one point if you are gay, and your response was, "Is this going to? We are, and is this going to affect our career?" Has there ever been a barrier set up by the fact that you're openly gay?
You know, it's funny because that story about Elliot, we use that version as sort of a rough estimate of what I remember. You know, it's sort of like the conversation really was. We were starting to get our first press. A lot of the press that we were getting and the interest that we were getting was from gay magazines, and I remember I felt homophobic, like I felt insecure, like, oh my God, like should we talk to these people? Should we, you know, are we allowed? We hadn't really prepared ourselves
We
for
were
any of
teenagers
that.
and we just signed a record deal and we were
Yeah,
like,
we
are
were totally
people
unsure.
were either asking about if we were gay or they would be like, so tell us about your boyfriends.
Yeah,
and we'd be like, what do you say? Like,
and then Elliot Roberts, we had that, you know, a very illuminating conversation where we were sort of saying like, we were almost asking for permission from him. You know, like, is it okay? Are we gonna hurt our career? Like, he had all the experience after working with Neil Young, and it's so significant to me now to look back at that moment because what Elliot said to us could have steered us in a very different direction, and he just said, be yourselves. If you're gay, you should be comfortable. You should talk about yourself. These are your experiences and your stories and your songs, and being authentic and being transparent with people is what's going to connect them to you. And so off we went, and we just, even though I think we absolutely experienced homophobia, and in a lot of ways we also experienced sort of what I think is almost just institutionalized sexism about women in the music industry, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. I think that being young, being gay, and being women, we had to sort of dismantle for so many years. We had to dismantle those signifiers while also honoring them. I am gay and I am a woman, and why can't that be part of my story? Why does it have to reduce my story that I'm gay and that I'm a woman? I'm so glad that Elliot said that, because if he had been like, yeah, let's play that down, let's get you on dates with Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, I should probably would have been straight then, if he had said that.
Well, there was a New Kids on the Block metaphor there.
If
right?
he was like, I think you're more of a Joey McIntyre and Tegan's more of a Jordan, I would have been like, whatever you want, Elliot.
Tegan and Sara, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Can you come a little closer?
If you have not heard Tegan and Sara, go download their albums now. I promise you, you will not regret it. They are amazing. Okay, so now I'm gonna gush just a little bit. Every once in a while, a show comes along, and from the minute the curtain goes up, I know I'm going to become obsessed with it. Chorus Line, Vita, Into the Woods, Wicked. I mean, there's a long list of them, trust me. Well, there's a new girl in town, and her name is Kinky Boots. And I got the great opportunity to sit down and have a chit-chat with the ultimate sweetheart, who's the director and choreographer of Kinky Boots, Jerry Mitchell. So in years to come, when we look back on the 2013 Broadway season, we are going to remember one show for sure, and that is Kinky Boots. This new Broadway musical, which is about to open, is a producer's dream team with the book by Harvey Fierstein and music and lyrics by Cyndi Lauper, and of course, my guest today, the incredible director and choreographer of Kinky Boots, Jerry Mitchell. Thanks for popping over from the theater today.
Thank you so much. Yes, they're doing a matinee right now, and I saw the first part of the matinee, made a few changes last night, wanted to make sure they worked, and said, I'll rush over to see Josh.
Well, it's so funny because you're like, oh, well, I made some changes. I'm like, no, don't change anything. I have to say, first of all, on a personal level, congratulations.
Thank you.
I saw the show last week. I loved it, every single minute of it. I could not wait to get up on my feet and start cheering. So, what an amazing accomplishment. Like, how did you even start this crazy journey with these incredible people?
Kinky Boots came to me through Daryl Roth first. I was at the gala in Central Park honoring David Rockwell, who's my often set collaborator, and Daryl was there, and she said, I just acquired the rights to something, and I'd like to see if you're interested in working on it. And I said, what is it? She said, I'm not going to tell you, and so she sent me the package in the mail, and I opened the package, and it was the film of Kinky Boots. So I watched the film, I had never seen it, and I'm in tears. And I call her back and I say, absolutely. I find out that Hal and her are working together on Hal Luftig, who had offered me my first job ever directing a musical, Legally Blonde. I said to Daryl, I want Harvey to write the book. And she wanted Harvey to write the book, so I approached Harvey. Harvey watched the film. He came back with a very clear idea of what he thought we could do with it. I think maybe a month later I had a first draft from Harvey, that quick, and then we were on our search for a composer. But we eventually settled on Harvey's brother's suggestion, which was Cyndi Lauper.
There's a cliche of always follow the love story when you write a musical. And I say, there's no love, Charlie doesn't really have a girlfriend. He's with a girl that he doesn't belong with. He ends up with a nice girl, but it's not that kind of love story. Lola is not ready for love. Lola is still so hurt when we meet her. She's so damaged by what her father put her through and what she thought she was supposed to be, that she, as RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell is somebody else going to love you? So I said, then I get an amen on that. So I said, that's not our love story. Our love story is between these two guys. This friendship of these two people who could not be more different than each other, having to find each other and accept each other. And once they learn to accept each other, they then turn around and accept themselves, which is the hardest thing in the world to do. How easy, hard, what did you tap into? Because I didn't say, okay, I want you to write, I'm not my father's son.
Well, I'm a mom. So I get to see my son and my husband, and I watched him grow up. And I watched all the other little boys, and there's that one time when they walk next to their father and imitate his walk. And then they get old enough where they can't walk like their dad anymore, and they feel like they can never be what he wants them to be, and the great disappointment of that. So that's where I'm not my father's son came from, the melody and all of that. And I felt that if there was any project that I would give 4.5 years to, I feel that what this story is about is integrity.
It's really hard to separate you or Harvey or Cyndi Lauper, and as you mentioned, you've got like a couple of really great producers on board, Joe Roth and Hal Luftig, and I'm sure a whole host of others.
Yes.
And you've got this ridiculous design team as well. I mean, it is literally top notch all the way down, and I have to say, like, the band sounds sick.
Stephen Aremus is
unbelievable,
incredible.
We've been talking a lot about your creative team now. You, like you said, you've worked with a lot of these people before. You have been involved in, like you said, the Beaumonte. What a great show, amazing cast,
Yes.
amazing creative team.
Yes.
Hairspray, another just ridiculous show.
Incredibly great show.
Do you ever like sit in the room or in the theater or around and you're like looking like, oh my God, there's all these people and they're here for my show, and just have to pinch yourself and be like, this is my life.
Well, I feel incredibly fortunate to be having this experience with Kinky Boots right now. Last season I worked on a show that I was equally as passionate about called Catch Me If You Can, which was not the critic's darling. And it's an interesting business we're in because I don't get involved in a project unless I'm passionate about it. The outcome is beyond my I have nothing to do with how the show is going to be critically received. And critically received does sort of dictate, in some ways, how easy it is going to be for your team to then sell tickets to that show. It does help, there's no question about it. The funny thing about Kinky Boots, we went out of town in Chicago, and right away I realized that there was something in the show that was connecting with the audience on a very visceral level. And I thought, of course, that it was the story, and I still think it is the story, but it's the reality of these people and their characters, yet it's not real like, you know, Long Day's Journey into Night.
No.
It's real enough in a musical to make you feel like, I'm gonna listen to this story, I'm gonna feel something for these people, and in the end, I'm gonna walk away dancing out of the theater. And that's really what happens. I'm seeing it happen night after night after night at the theater, and it reminds me a lot of the way people left Hairspray.
Well, I was going to say, I don't feel like I have walked out of a theater since Hairspray, which I saw probably like 6 times.
Yeah.
Where literally I have danced up the aisle, and that sense of like collective euphoria in the theater. Well, I'd be absolutely remiss if we didn't talk about the beautiful elephant in the room, which is Billy Porter.
Billy is just sensational. You know, it's one of those moments when a part and an actor meet at the exact right time.
He's got a series of moments that make you laugh and cry, and
Yeah.
I think I mentioned I brought a friend with me to the show who's not, you know, a theater person, and at the end, and I don't want to give too much away because you've got to go see the show, but in Act 2, his number, I was like, that is what they mean when they say he stopped the show, because the night I saw it, they just would not let him move, and I'm sure that's...
It happens, that happens there, it happens at the end of Sex is in the Heel, it's happened with Anna Lee, it's happened with Stark, it's happened with all of them, which is just it's not just about them as performers and what they're doing, it's about the writing and how they're interpreting it. It's really good musical theater.
If you could hop in a time machine and go back and see a Broadway musical,
I think if I could see the original company on opening night of Fiddler on the Roof, that would be my first choice.
All right, I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jerry. It's
Thank you, Josh.
Sickeningly beautiful and wonderful, and I use sick in the most awesome way because
I love sickeningly fabulous.
And like I said, I cannot wait to go again, and
Good.
Really congratulations to you and everybody over there. If you haven't been paying attention, the musical is Kinky Boots on Broadway. Playing at the Al Hirschfield Theater. You can go to kinkybootsthemusical.com for tickets and information. And this one is not to be missed, as I said in my opening. The 2013 Broadway season will be known as the season of Kinky Boots. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know I was just a gushy, giggly mess, right? But seriously, history in the making, so check it out. Well, that about does it for today, but thanks for watching. And remember, I love to hear from you, so please write to me at justjosh@heretv.com. That's justjosh@heretv.com. And as always, I'll see you again next time.